Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 3rd River Falls Planning Commission meeting. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Becky, can we have a roll call, please?
Holtkamp, Gormanson,
Here.
Odine, here. Prendergast,
Here.
Severson, Woolsey.
Here. Okay, before we get started, we have a new commissioner tonight. Stephen's our new planning commissioner, so I'd just like to welcome him to the commission and thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Okay, let's start with approval of minutes from the January 6th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
First, second, questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move into public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that has anything they'd like to state, now would be the time to come on up. And as usual, everybody gets 2 minutes, and if you could sign in with your name, address, and phone number, that'd be great. Okay, move on to ordinances, resolutions. First one is a specific implementation plan and final plat for Wildflower Meadows on Powell Avenue at North Winter Street. And I will take a motion on this. Oh, I'm sorry. Harley Melhorn is going to give us a little presentation on this. Sorry, Harley.
Oh, no problem, Mayor.
I got to remember to look up when I'm.
We're about efficiency here at the city.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Commission. I'm Harley Melhorn, Senior Planner. The first item before you tonight is Wildflower Meadows, a request for specific implementation plan and final plat approval for a 45-lot single-family subdivision. The site was added to the City of River Falls from the town of Croix in July of last year. This process is called annexation. Annexation is often the first step toward development because there is less and less open land available inside of the city each year. Soon after the site was annexed, an application was submitted for a planned unit development. A planned unit development, often called a PUD, is a special type of zoning overlay. It allows more flexibility in how a project is built so long as the project provides a public benefit and follows the city's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is the main document that guides how the city grows and develops. The first step in a PUD is the General Development Plan, or GDP for short. The GDP explains what is being built and what rules are being adjusted. In this case, the city allowed flexibility in setbacks and lot sizes so the project could better match the goals of the comprehensive plan. The GDP for this project was approved on November 11th of last year and set the overall direction for how the site will be developed. At the same time, a preliminary plat for the entire site was approved. A plat is required when 4 or more lots are created or changed. A lot is a piece of land that can be sold on its own. In this project, the lots are single-family residential lots. The preliminary plat shows the general layout of the development, including streets, lots, and easements. The request before the Commission tonight is for the specific implementation plan, or SIP, for Wildflower Meadows. The SIP and final plat explain how the project will be built in detail, carrying out the ideas approved in the GDP. The subject 24.5 acre site is located on the north side of Powell Avenue between East and West Woodridge Drives. This graphic depicts the totality of the site, meaning the bounds of both the first phase and the future second phase. Before the Commission tonight is the first phase. The proposed first phase of Wildflower Meadows includes a total of 45 lots. This consists of 37 single-family lots and 8 townhome lots, shown in orange and purple on the site plan respectively. The development will have 2 vehicular access points from Powell Avenue, allowing residents to enter and exit the neighborhood safely and efficiently. There will also be a future emergency-only access coming in Phase 2. The subdivision will be built to meet the city's neighborhood design standards. Sidewalks will be installed on both sides of the street, and the roads will be wide enough to allow on-street parking on both sides. These features are intended to support walkability, safety, and neighborhood connectivity. A small pocket park is proposed in the southern portion of the development, just north of the storm pond located in Outlet 1. This park will be constructed and improved by the developer during the Phase 1 build-out and will provide a shared outdoor space for residents. Overall, the Phase 1 site plan is consistent with and substantially follows the general development plan that was approved by City Council last year. The proposed architecture features a unified style with the use of high-quality materials, as well as many architectural embellishments, meaning small details. There are numerous variations on the chosen theme, keeping a strong identity while crafting various elevations to prevent visual monotony. Staff finds the proposed architecture to be consistent with the quality and style contemplated by the GDP, the comp plan, and surrounding character. Per ordinance, an SIP must be substantially conformant to the approved general development plan for a given PUD and must meet all other development and engineering standards of code not otherwise waived or extended during the GDP process. Staff has reviewed this SIP and finds it to be in substantial conformance to the GDP. As previously noted, the applicant is also seeking a final plat for the creation of sellable lots and the dedication of outlots to the city. Municipal code requires final plats to be evaluated upon certain criteria. Staff analysis on each of the criteria on screen can be found in more detail in the meeting packet. City staff have examined each of the criteria and found there to be no concern. The next step for this SIP application and final plat request is to go before the City Council on February the 24th. Finding conformance with code criteria and the comprehensive plan, staff recommends that the Plan Commission forward the enclosed council resolutions approving the SIP and final plat for the site to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, thank you for your time, and I'll defer back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So I will take a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we forward the specific implementation plan and final plat for Wildflower Meadows to the City Council with a recommendation for approval.
First and second, questions?
I've got one quick question. Do you know when they plan to start building? Assuming approval.
I would defer that to the applicant.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. Paul Tabone with JPB Land from Maple Grove, Minnesota. To answer your question, we anticipate starting development work this spring with actual home construction probably mid to late summer, early fall. Kind of depends on how long the development work takes. And that's kind of weather dependent as well, depending on when the frost comes out of the ground and how much rain we do or don't get. But it's anticipated we'll be doing development and construction later this year.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is rezoning of 659 St. Croix Street from I-1 Industrial District to B3 Highway Commercial District. This is for the Wilkens Property LLC, and Harley once again will give us a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item before the Commission this evening is a rezoning request for Jerry's Automotive. As a reminder, rezoning involves changing the official zoning designation of a property. A zoning district determines what land uses are permitted or prohibited on a site and establishes development standards such as parking requirements, setbacks, signage, building height, and other regulations. All zoning decisions must be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Unlike a planned unit development, which the Commission considered earlier, a rezoning is adopted by ordinance and permanently changes the underlying zoning classification and land use entitlement of a given property. The subject site is located directly west of Jerry's Auto. The intent of the rezoning, which was initiated by the ownership of Jerry's, is to allow for the expansion of the existing auto service and repair facility to the west and to unify the zoning of the site, as the intent is to combine the parcels into one via a certified survey map, which is much like a plat but is administrative. The purple overlay on screen illustrates the subject site of the rezoning, which is located at the southwest corner of Summit and St. Croix Streets, on the west side of Main Street. The subject site is currently zoned I-1 Industrial District, while Jerry's is currently zoned B3 Highway Commercial. The request is to rezone the I-1 site to B3 highway commercial. Municipal code requires rezonings to be evaluated upon conformance with guiding documents and compatibility with surrounding land uses, the chief guiding document being the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan designates the future land use of the site as mixed use. This designation calls for a mix of residential and commercial uses, usually in a more horizontal pattern, meaning not just vertically, but there could be adjacent typologies of uses split between residential and commercial. The proposed zoning of B3 is consistent with this designation as it allows for both commercial and residential uses by right, meaning no additional permits needed to conduct either of those uses. The next step from here is for the City Council to hear the proposed rezoning. 2 meetings are required for the rezoning because it is an ordinance. One is set for February the 24th for a first reading, and then March 10th for the disposition of the request. Finding conformance with the comp plan, staff recommends the commission forward the ordinance for the rezoning to City Council with a favorable recommendation. That's all I got. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Harley. Okay, so I'll take a motion on the rezoning.
I'll move that we forward the rezoning of 659 St. Croix Street from I-1 Industrial to B3 Highway Commercial to City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
First and second, questions? Comments?
I'm kind of curious, Harley, can you explain what is it that they couldn't do under the current versus now? I'm trying to get a picture of that. Maybe you can help me out a little bit.
That's a wonderful question. Thank you, Commissioner. So the answer to that is, in reality, their underlying land use in I-1, they could do certain types of auto repair uses. That would be limited to the more industrial side of auto repair. From a land use administration standpoint, though, it's often cleaner to consolidate adjacent parcels that are to be combined into a single land use. And the ownership of Jerry's felt it more appropriate to do so, both for the resellability of the lot, and also staff felt that it was appropriate because it was consistent with our comprehensive plan. As to how it might change their underlying entitlements, again, it could likely have been accommodated, especially because it's just serving as storage. But if they did have a retail component or like a quick service component that's more appropriate for commercial type districts, it could necessitate further approvals, like potentially a special use permit that would ride with the site but not be permanent. So it came down to the decision of the ownership. This was not staff initiated to flip this.
I guess it doesn't matter either way, but it seems like it's 2 parcels that were probably purchased at different times, or they were separate and they came into ownership of this one at some point. And so that's why there isn't the continuity already. So perhaps, I don't know. So
That could very likely be.
all right.
Anybody else have anything? Okay. First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move on to, next is the proposed ordinance amendments to Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic. You're creating Chapter 10.20 relating to bicycles, regulating bicycle use on sidewalks. Creating Chapter 10.21 relating to electric bicycles and electric scooters. And then C would be creating Chapter 10.22 relating to operation of all-terrain and utility terrain vehicles and off-highway motorcycles. And we have Sergeant Denton Anderson here tonight to give us a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Okay, yeah, so 3 ordinances presenting to you tonight bicycles use on the sidewalk, conventional pedal use bicycles on the sidewalks, electric bicycles, electric scooters, and OHMs and ATV usage within the city limits. So I have a lot to cover here. I'm going to start with the first one, and I'll field any questions if you have any. It's the usage of the downtown district along Main Street sidewalk, along Main Street from Division Street, going south all the way to Cascade. To the east on 2nd Street would be the far eastern side of the sidewalk, and to Riverwalk. Basically, we want to prohibit bicycle usage in the downtown area, given the amount of pedestrian traffic and the potential for injury there.
Just to clarify, you're limiting bikes on the sidewalk, not on the
Correct,
street.
yes,
Yeah,
not
just
the
on the
street.
sidewalk.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, yes, just the sidewalk. And then children 12 years want to still be able to use their bicycle. So, any questions on that ordinance as presented?
I have a confession. I did not realize that you could use bikes on the sidewalk, and for years I've been scowling
Well-
at people who've been riding their bikes on the sidewalk. So
So,
I apologize to
no,
if
no
any of them
apologies
are
needed.
listening.
So, once upon a time, it was prohibited.
Okay,
And then we rescinded it, and now we're going to reintroduce it.
Okay.
Just because of the pedestrian traffic and especially during community events and things like that, it can be problematic. So that's why we're reintroducing that element of the ordinance, that provision. All right, any questions on downtown usage? Is it? Okay. Moving to the second one, e-bicycles. So originally I had, so first of all, I have a quick fact sheet here for those of us that are still gaining familiarity with e-bicycle concept, what an e-bicycle actually is, in contrast to an off-highway motorcycle or an electric motorcycle, if you will. So I have had discussions with area stakeholders, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, had a great discussion with him. Had the privilege of visiting his shop. He walked me through what a Class 1 bicycle is, Class 2 bicycle, Class 3 bicycle, and the differences between the three, and the concerns with operating both on what would be identified as a bike pathway or a sidewalk, and also potential ways we can open up the scope of usage in the city. That is going to take some further dialogue, and we've had that communication, Ms. Odine, and then I've also been in communication with Mr. Johnson as well. There's some things that I would like to, or we would like to expand our knowledge on before we introduce this officially. So right now, I'll just go through this real quick. So, and I'm not getting a traverse over to the other screen. See if I can do this. All right, well, I do apologize, but I can.
Oh.
Is it okay? I touched me. I do apologize. Okay, so as you can see in front of you, Class 1 e-bike, pedal assist up to 20 miles per hour, no throttle. Class 2, up to 20 miles an hour with the throttle without pedal assist. And Class 3 is up to 28 miles an hour pedal assist, and state statute as identified in Act 32, signed in 2019, you have to be 16 years of age or older to operate a Class 3 e-bike. Now, as the original draft of the ordinance reads, you have to have a valid driver's license, which would obviously put you at 16 years and above to operate that bicycle. But we may be able to have a dialogue on possibly amending that. I'm not sure. That's going to be a consultation we would have to have with the city attorney, but that's something that we can take a look at. I'm also in favor, as the ordinance reads, Class 1, you need to technically shut the motor off disabling the pedal assist and having to manually pedal the bike. Now we know, and from what I've seen, those bikes are heavy in nature. I'm also willing to revisit that as well. So as it relates to class 3, that's going to be difficult, and I say that because bring that age down from 16. In fact, without speaking or consulting with the attorney, but statute backstops that age. So we cannot override statute when we introduce ordinance. So that's going to have to stay at 16 for the class 3. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's a real quick brief down on class 1, 2, and 3. So this is the other thing that really generated a sense of urgency for us at the police department, the off-highway motorcycles. We had no ordinance on the books. There was really no framework governing their usage. So an off-highway motorcycle, unlike an e-bike, is straight throttle, and they can be operated at a high rate of speed. And some of these things, I will tell you, are just as they're just as powerful as a Honda Enduro bike, except with an electric motor. And like I said, there's no existing framework for us to use currently to really keep people safe on these, and or actually not even keep people safe, but keep them where they belong, which we believe is on designated paths outside the city, on paths that are designed for these machines to be operated on. So the concerns we have is young children operating these e-motorcycles. They go extremely fast. They do carry a lot of energy. Bikes that carry this much power, 750 watts and above, some of them quite a bit more power, or carry more power than that. They're being operated without turn signals, without lights. It's basically just a free-for-all. And it's one of these situations where these were introduced and we were oversaturated with them, and legislation wasn't even in the ballpark with how we govern these things, right? So our concern is, and I'll tell you straight up, 24 years patrol. I just came off the road about 6 months ago. When I seen these things, and I seen some of the younger kids riding these, even with the helmets, some of them were safer than others, but some did not have helmets, and they were driving all around the parks, all around the playgrounds. I did think to myself on several occasions, here, look, if we don't do something about this, we're gonna have a bad day. So that's the urgency I have with these. Quite a bit different than an e-bike in nature. These things are just wide open. They can go in excess of 40, 50 miles an hour. For comparison, a 49cc moped with a combustible engine requires a Class D driver's license to operate. We've seen kids as young as 8, 9, 10 years old operating these on primary city arterials, and we see them in the parks. I'll date myself here, but it's look back to, remember the video game site, like dirt bikes going off the mountains. That's what the St. Park looked like a couple times when I drove by this summer. And I think it's something that we should strongly be considering. And the ordinance does prohibit usage within the city limits, proposed ordinance, and redirects them to off-road trails that are designated for their use and for regular enduro dirt bike usage as well. So DNR did have 2 applicable statutes that did apply to the usage of e-bikes, but honestly, we couldn't write them. If we did, it would have been problematic. I mean, we could have tried, but it wouldn't have worked out very well with the scope of the legalities involved. So. So that's all I had for the OHMs. ATVs are included with that as well. ATVs are a concern also. It is understood that other communities in the county do open up their municipal jurisdictions and the roadways for ATV usage. However, the concern with our community is we have much higher level of traffic saturation and congestion than other communities in the county. And the other concern is, as it relates to keeping people safe, motor vehicle violations, to include OWI, carry different and much lighter penalties.
Yeah.
So that's a primary concern of mine as well, which is something we need to be taking a look at. And that is also rolled into this ordinance also. I think that's it. I hear them all.
Okay. So Emily, do you want to, we'll talk about this stuff, but do we, if, like, we want to go back and look at the electric bicycles, obviously, he wants to do that and rewrite some stuff. So do we want to, when we're all done, are we going to send the whole thing back, or, because we have A, B, and C?
We have A, B, and C,
Do we want to do?
and you can take them one at a time.
Yep, but if he takes some back, are we gonna send the whole thing back? Or are we gonna say, A's good, we like A, the way it's written, the way it's sent out, we like it, we can send that to council?
Correct.
Or do you wanna do this all
Yes.
at once?
They do not have to all go together simultaneously. They
Okay.
can go
So I can
separately.
treat each one as its own resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, so let's do this. We'll start with A1. We'll start with, the first one is resolution creating chapter 10.20 relating to bicycles, regulating bicycles use on sidewalks. And I'll take a motion on this.
I will recommend that we forward the proposed chapter 10.20, regulating bicycle use on sidewalks, to the city council with a recommendation for approval.
I'll second that.
So we got first and second. Is there any other questions on the bicycle one?
I guess I'm looking at overall, I would like to see a way to do the regulations where we're not looking specifically at numbers of like the type of equipment, like with, 750 watts and that kind of thing.
That's the
Let me-
second
this-
one.
Okay, this is just for plain bicycles. This one is.
Oh, the plain
Yep,
bicycle
this is
one.
just plain bicycles.
I've got the wrong one on my
No,
Downtown.
no, this is for A.
Okay.
This is just plain bicycles and the streets, or the sidewalks downtown.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's my fault. I rescind my comment.
Okay.
It's coming though.
Any other questions on this one, as far as just plain bicycles? Okay, so we have a first and a second on this. All in favor of sending this to council?
Aye.
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 Okay. Next one is B, the creating chapter 10.21 relating to electrical bicycles and electrical scooters. I'll take a motion on this and then we can discuss it.
I'll move to approve.
To send it to council,
To send it to council.
okay?
Yep, I'll second too.
Okay, we got a first and a second, now we can discuss it and decide what we want to do.
That's kind of what I
Yep.
wanted to do, Mr. Mayor, and
Perfect.
I was looking through this and I don't know if it makes it complicated for the consumer and for law enforcement to be looking at specific, types of equipment, if it's a better way, and I don't know how to do this. I was looking at it and I was like, even kind of considering like, is there a way that we could strike some of this that gives the same safety for the public and also helps the consumer and law enforcement without having a specific type of equipment type, and look at it as regulating behavior and whether or not there's safety features on things, using things, is it street legal, for example, that kind of, instead of talking about the equipment itself, because technology changes, and then are we stuck having to do things with an ordinance change because of that?
No, I'm tracking. Yep, that makes complete sense.
Okay.
So when we draft the ordinance and we send it to the city attorney for review, and then we collectively input all the information that goes into this, we do have to guide off of existing statute, off the definitions that do exist in statute, and Article 32, drafted in 2019, clearly delineates what is a Class 1, a Class 2, and a Class 3 e-bike. So that's why that language is in there. That's why that verbiage is in there. So that's going to have to stay there. I believe, I'm not speaking on behalf of an attorney, but I think that language is gonna have to stay pretty close to that. But where we can maybe have a little bit of latitude is what we allow. And that's the other point I wanted, if I may, real quick, as it relates to usage in the city, is what is a bike path? What is a sidewalk? Common sense would tell us which is which, right? But in order for enforcement, we're gonna have to have that defined. Does that make sense? So we're gonna have to have that clearly delineated in code.
Yeah, because there's some sidewalks that are just like paved asphalt, and it's like, is that a sidewalk? Is it a path?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very good point.
So as it sits now, it's either everything or nothing until we get it defined. So,
Although speaking of sidewalks, e-bikes are heavier, and I think one thing maybe to think about in this is maybe we get all the e-bikes off the sidewalk. There are a lot of streets that have the little bike, well, kind of a little lane on the side. So maybe that's one way to look at safety. I mean, they can be in the paths, maybe not on the sidewalk. But again, you get down to what's a path.
yeah, so that's, and I think when you look at, and when you compare it to other municipal ordinances, some have that differentiated, some don't. But I think that's something we would have to take a hard look at.
Can you speak a little bit more to what you witnessed in, you said DeSanctis Park, was the activity of some of the people using these, were they operating at a high speed on the paths, or were they off the paths?
Absolutely. So I want to make a real quick differentiation here. So what I saw in DeSanctis Park and at Greenwood Elementary were not e-bicycles. They were the e-motorcycles. So this is kind of like the second. So what I did see, it was like, basically they were treating that park like a motocross, essentially. They had the throttles wide open. They were running wheelies. They were doing.
And off-road?
What's that?
And off-road, or off the path?
Off the path, yeah, like on the grass, on the hills. And then we would see the same behavior at Greenwood Elementary in the fields out there. And I had a situation where I was sitting at Horry in Maine, facing northbound, and now this wasn't a younger child or even a young adult, this was an older, or a gentleman probably in his 40s, come flying down the sidewalk on one of these things, and he came into radar. I locked him, and I had him at about 40, coming down the sidewalk, right down the sidewalk, not on the street. And I'm like, so I did what I had to do. I hit the lights, I turned around, I got him stopped. And I got up there and I'm talking to him, and I asked for his license, and I asked for his identification, which I found out he had a suspended Class D license, in addition to speeding on the sidewalk. And when I got down to brass tacks, I get to my computer and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I have nothing here. I might have disorderly conduct, and that would be relatively wide in scope for operating that behavior at that high rate of speed on the sidewalk and putting other people who would have been on that sidewalk in danger. I could have maybe, but as far as a moving vehicle violation, no, they're not on the roads. They're on the sidewalk. I had nothing.
So I'm looking,
And what they would tend to do too is they'll fly through intersections. They won't brake. They'll just burn right through the crosswalks on these intersections. And like I said, how we got through the summer without somebody being injured or
so I think, I look at some of what you're stating there, and I agree, like, there's just kind of rules of the road that would kind of take care of some things, or is there some things that we have to put in place about parkland that's off path that says, sure, you can ride your bicycle at 10 miles an hour or whatever. I mean, we never really had to think about those kind of things before, but now with this, new class of different kinds of vehicles, we might do it that way, and some of that gets taken care of at that level, because it's just an ordinance, not so much attached to this, but just general activity. You can't do that. You can't, drive the vehicle that way across, a field behind a school or something like that, because you could set up an ordinance that way to regulate the behavior, I guess. So I don't know where those kind of things intersect.
Yeah, it sounds like the speed problem is not, or at least you haven't observed any similar speeding issues with e-bikes. It's been the e-motos.
Yeah,
Okay.
straightforward, yeah.
So, I'm assuming we want to table this, so he can take it back, and we can work with him on,
Right. Well, we've got a motion.
Yeah, we got a motion.
to pass it along. So if we defeat that,
then
then
we can table it.
then it,
Okay,
then we can take it.
okay. So is there, first off, more questions, more comments about stuff we can think about on this?
I was just looking at how you got it written here. And first of all, thanks for contacting the garage. That's how I learned about this stuff. Anyway, so on the 10.21.040, I think class 1 bikes should be allowed. And then I've kind of researched it a little bit, and I think class 2 bikes should be allowed on bike paths, maybe not sidewalks.
And
Once we differentiate what
once
that
we
is.
differentiate, yes, sir, and that's the hang up, right? So that's what we need to figure that out, because the other component in our community that comes into play here too is the trails on the white pathway. What does that look like?
And I'm just thinking to myself, class 2, I'm gonna be old sometime, I can't ride my motorcycle,
Yeah.
but I still wanna ride something,
Yeah.
so.
Right on. No, understood, yes, sir.
Okay, so we got a first and second on this. I'll take well, we already have a motion. So I'll say all in favor of passing this on to the council. Opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, so we won't pass it along, and you'll be able to take it back and work with staff and the council, the board members don't hesitate to get a hold of staff or Sergeant Anderson to more comments or questions, suggestions. Okay, so let's move on to the third one, which is take a motion to create chapter 10.22 relating to operation of all-terrain and utility terrain vehicles and off-highway motorcycles. So I'll take a motion on that.
I'll move that we forward that to City Council with a recommendation that be approved.
Okay, first and a second on that, and we'll open up for questions.
I think it's a great idea to,
Yeah.
especially the off-highway motorcycles. I've had comments from constituents and observed too that
Yeah.
they're just not safe, and something's going to happen. So, and also I don't think River Falls. I do know that some communities allow all-terrain vehicles to tootle around on designated streets or all the streets, but I just don't think River Falls is set up well for that.
Now with the traffic volume.
Now, yep.
Yeah, and hey, I prefer to, favor bicycles rather than four-wheel things with motors.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on this one?
I guess one of the questions I'm curious about it is, can somebody set one of those vehicles up so it is with turn signals and being able to have some kind of device, a horn, and the things that would make it like a regular vehicle?
Yeah.
So they're,
I would have to challenge me a little bit. Short answer is yes. The follow-up to that answer is it may have to be road legal. It may have to pass inspection. I state patrol inspector or something, but I don't. But the short answer is yes. If you have a Razor, or if you have, that's the quad cab ATV or whatever, you throw directionals on there, you throw high beams, you throw low beams, you throw stop lamps, with seat belts, restraint. Possibly, yeah. I would need to dive into that a little deeper, but I think it's possible, yeah.
And related to that, I mean, there's different kind of vehicles that the university uses to get around campus and do different work and crossing and on sidewalks. This wouldn't really affect that, so just
Government
No, I think
government provision.
There's a provision
that's
Yep.
okay.
for that.
Better read a little more carefully. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll send that one on to the council then. And then we have a planning update with Emily.
I'd like to thank Sergeant
Oh,
Anderson
yes.
very much for
Yes.
helping staff with this.
We appreciate the extra work you're putting in on this. Much needed.
Yeah, I just want to thank the commission for the good discussion tonight. I think as we talked about with the ordinance amendments at the last meeting, you know, where we've got that pyramid of discretion, we did stuff that was all up and down that pyramid today. So, you know, the discussion of ordinances, we're setting policy. So that was the most discretion, kind of the base of it. And then when we did the rezoning one, it was looking at, okay, we're making a zoning change, that's a policy change, and that sits on top of the comprehensive plan, right? So we're looking at those sorts of things. And then when we did Wildflower Meadows, that was one where the policy's already been set. We're just making sure that their detailed plans are consistent with policy. So this was kind of an interesting agenda that enabled us to kind of go across that whole spectrum. So thank you for the conversation on that. Just a couple of updates kind of related to our community development monthly report at the end of your packet. I did want to point out that we are going to be submitting a federal grant for to support infrastructure improvements downtown. So that grant will be submitted at the end of this month. So in March, I plan to give you just more of an informational presentation about sort of what's happening with downtown and what that grant will cover, some of those sorts of things. And then another major planning initiative that we've been working on with all of our teams is the Safe Streets Action Plan. And we anticipate that coming to council in April. So we're getting close. So the last engagement that we had from folks was to help with prioritization when we look at areas of the city where we have some safety concerns and where people have experienced unsafe conditions, and thinking about where we should start to focus our interventions. And another kind of exciting part of the project is we have a team that's going to be doing some concept plans for what those safety improvements might look like in certain key areas. So that is in the works. And then finally, I sent an email out to commission members earlier today about the state of the city, which is in March. There's instructions on how to register to make sure that you register for free. So don't pay for your registration, and we would love to see you there if you're able to attend. And that is what I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Emily, anybody have any questions for Emily? Okay.
Is there gonna be a movie theme this year for State of the?
No.
It's better. It's Legos.
Legos this year.
I did want to ask whose idea that was because I saw the poster and I thought it was adorable.
Yeah.
I
Pretty good.
think that's our administration team.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
First and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.